necessary since the physical energy complex is in deficit. Since the energy, therefore, for these contacts is a product of energy transfer, the instrument must no longer pay this physical price. Therefore, the instrument is not losing the weight. However, the weight gain, as it occurs, is the product of two factors. One is the increasing sensitivity of this physical vehicle to all that is placed before it, including that towards which it is distorted in ways you would call allergic. The second factor is the energizing of these difficulties. It is fortunate for the outlook of this contact and the incarnation of this entity that it is not distorted towards the overeating, as the overloading of this much distorted physical complex would override even the most fervent affirmations of health/illness and turn the instrument towards the distortions of illness/health, or in the extreme case, the physical death. Questioner: Thank you. I'm going to ask a rather long, complicated question here, and I would request that the answer to each portion of this question be given if there was a significant difference prior to the veil than following the veil, so that I can get an idea of how what we experience now is used for better polarization. What was the difference before the veil in the following while incarnate in third density? Sleep, dreams, physical pain, mental pain, sex, disease, catalyst programming, random catalyst, relationships, or communication with the higher self, or with the mind-body-spirit totality, or any other mind, body, or spirit functions before the veil that would be significant with respect to their difference after the veil. I am Ra. Firstly, let us establish that both before and after the veil, the same conditions existed in time-space. That is, the veiling process is a space-time phenomenon. Secondly, the character of experience was altered drastically by the veiling process. In some cases, such as the dreaming and the contact with the higher self, the experience was quantitatively different due to the fact that the veiling is a primary cause of the value of dreams and is also the single door against which the higher self must stand, awaiting entry. Before veiling, dreams were not for the purpose of using the so-called unconscious to further utilize catalyst, but were used to learn-teach from teach-learners within the inner planes, as well as those of outer origin of higher density. As you deal with each subject of which you spoke, you may observe, during the veiling process, not a quantitative change in the experience, but a qualitative one. Let us, as an example, choose your sexual activities of energy transfer. If you have a desire to treat other subjects in detail, please query forthwith. In the instance of the sexual activity of those not dwelling within the veiling, each activity was a transfer. There were some transfers of strength. Most were rather attenuated in the strength of the transfer due to the lack of veiling. In the third density, entities are attempting to learn the ways of love. If it can be seen that all are one being, it becomes much more difficult for the undisciplined personality to choose one mate and, thereby, initiate itself into a program of service. It is much more likely that the sexual energy will be dissipated more randomly without either great joy or great sorrow, depending from these experiences. Therefore, the green ray energy transfer, being almost without exception the case in sexual energy transfer prior to veiling, remains weakened and without significant crystallization. The sexual energy transfers and blockages after veiling have been discussed previously. It may be seen to be a more complex study, but one far more efficient in crystallizing those who seek the green ray energy center. Questioner: Let's take then, since we are on the subject of sex, the relationship before and after the veil of disease, in this particular case, venereal disease. Was this type of disease in existence prior to the veil? I am Ra. There has been that which is called disease, both of this type and others, before and after this great experiment. However, since the venereal disease is in large part a function of the thought forms of a distorted nature which are associated with sexual energy blockage, the venereal disease is almost entirely the product of mind-body-spirit complexes interaction after the veiling. Questioner: You mentioned it did exist in a small way prior to the veil. What was the source of its development prior to the veiling process? I am Ra. The source was as random as the nature of disease distortions are at heart in general. Each portion of the body complex is in a state of growth at all times. The reversal of this is seen as disease and has the benign function of ending an incarnation at an appropriate space-time nexus. This was the nature of disease, including that which you call venereal.
Questioner: I'll make this statement, and you can correct me. As I see the nature of the action of disease, specifically before the veil, it seems to me that the Logos had decided upon a program where an individual mind-body-spirit would continue to grow in mind, and the body would be the third density analog of this mind. The growth would be continual, unless there was a lack of growth or an inability for some reason for the mind to continue along the growth patterns. If this growth decelerated or stopped, then what we call disease would act in a way so as to eventually terminate this physical experience, so that a new physical experience could be started to continue the growth process after a review of the entire process had taken place between incarnations. Would you clear up my thinking on that, please? I am Ra. Your thinking is sufficiently clear on this subject. Questioner: One thing I don't understand is why, if there was no veil, that the review of incarnation after the incarnation would help the process, since it seems to me that the entity should already be aware of what was happening. Possibly this has to do with the nature of space-time and time-space. Could you clear that up, please?
I am Ra. It is true that the nature of time-space is such that a lifetime may be seen whole as a book or record, the pages studied, riffled through, and reread. However, the value of review is that of the testing as opposed to the studying. At the testing, when the test is true, the distillations of all study are made clear. During the process of study, which you may call the incarnation, regardless of an entity's awareness of the process taking place, the material is diffused, and over-attention is almost inevitably placed upon detail. The testing upon the cessation of the incarnated state is not that testing which involves the correct memorization of many details. This testing is, rather, the observing of self by self, often with aid, as we have said. In this observation, one sees the sum of all the detailed study, that being an attitude, or complex of attitudes, which bias the consciousness of the mind-body-spirit. Questioner: I just thought of an analogy while you were saying that. I fly an airplane, and I have testing in a simulator, but this is not too much of a test since I know we're bolted to the ground and can't get hurt. However, when we're actually flying and making the approach, landing, etc. in the airplane, even though it's the same, it is, I guess, a poor analogy with respect to what was happening prior to the veil. I know all of the conditions in both cases, and yet I cannot get too interested in the simulator work because I know that it is bolted to the ground. I see this as the entities prior to the veil, knowing they were bolted to the creation, so to speak, or part of it. Is this a reasonable analogy? I am Ra. This is quite reasonable, although it does not bear upon the function of the review of incarnation, but rather bears upon the experiential differences before and after veiling. Questioner: Now, before the veil, an entity would be aware that he was experiencing a disease. As an example, would you give me, if you are aware of a case, of a disease an entity might experience prior to the veil, and how he would react to this and think about it, and what effect it would have on him in a complete sense? Could you give me an example, please? I am Ra. Inasmuch as the universe is composed of an infinite array of entities, there is also an infinity of response to stimulus. If you will observe your peoples, you will discover greatly variant responses to the same distortion towards disease. Consequently, we cannot answer your query with any hope of making any true statements, since the overgeneralizations required are too capacious. Questioner: Was there any uniformity or like functions of societies or social organizations prior to the veil? I am Ra. The third density is, by its very fiber, a societal one. There are societies wherever there are entities conscious of the self and conscious of other selves, and possessed with intelligence adequate to process information, indicating the benefits of communal blending of energies. The structures of society, before as after veiling, were various. However, the societies before veiling did not depend, in any case, upon the intentional enslavement of some for the benefit of others, this not being seen to be a possibility when all are seen as one. There was, however, the requisite amount of disharmony to produce various experiments in what you may call governmental or societal structures. Questioner: in our present illusion, we have undoubtedly lost sight of techniques of enslavement that are used since we are so far departed from the pre-veil experience. I am sure that many with service to others orientation are using techniques of enslavement, even though they are not aware these are techniques of enslavement, simply because they have been evolved over so long a period of time, and we are so deep into the illusion. Is this not correct? I am wrong. This is incorrect. Questioner: then you say that there are no cases where those who are service to others oriented are using in any way techniques of enslavement that have grown as a result of the evolution of our social structures? Is this what you mean? I am wrong. It was our understanding that your query concerned conditions before the veiling. There was no unconscious slavery, as you call this condition, at that period. At the present space-time, the condition of well-meant and unintentional slavery are so numerous that it beggars our ability to enumerate them. Questioner: then for a service to others-oriented entity at this time, meditation upon the nature of these little expected forms of slavery might be productive in polarization, I would think. Am I correct? I am wrong. You are quite correct. Questioner: I would say that a very high percentage of the laws and restrictions within what we call our legal system are of a nature of enslavement of which I just spoke. Would you agree with this? I am wrong. It is a necessary balance to the intention of law, which is to protect, that the result would encompass an equal distortion towards imprisonment. Therefore, we may say that your supposition is correct. This is not to denigrate those who, in green and blue ray energies, sought to free a peaceable people from the bonds of chaos, but only to point out the inevitable consequences of codification of response, which does not recognize the uniqueness of each and every situation within your experience. Questioner: is the veil supposed to be what I would call semi-permeable? I am wrong. The veil is indeed so. Questioner: what techniques and methods of penetration of the veil were planned, and are there any others that have occurred other than those planned? I am wrong. There were none planned by the first great experiment. As all experiments, this rested upon the nakedness of hypothesis. The outcome was unknown. It was discovered, experientially and empirically, that there were as many ways to penetrate the veil as the imagination of mind-body-spirit complexes could provide. The desire of mind-body-spirit complexes to know that which was unknown drew to them the dreaming and the gradual opening to the seeker of all of the balancing mechanisms leading to adepthood and communication with teach-learners which could pierce this veil. The various unmanifested activities of the self were found to be productive, in some degree, of penetration of the veil. In general, we may say that by far the most vivid and even extravagant opportunities for piercing the veil are a result of the interaction of polarized entities. Questioner: could you expand on what you mean by that interaction of polarized entities in piercing the veil? I am wrong. We shall state two items of note. The first is the extreme potential for polarization in the relationship of two polarized entities which have embarked upon the service to others path, or, in some few cases, the service to self path. Secondly, we would note that effect which we have learned to call the doubling effect. Those of like mind, which together seek, shall far more surely find. Questioner: specifically, by what process would, in the first case, two polarized entities attempt to penetrate the veil, whether they be positively or negatively polarized? By what technique would they penetrate the veil? I am wrong. The penetration of the veil may be seen to begin to have its roots in the gestation of green ray activity, that all compassionate love which demands no return. If this path is followed, the higher energy centers shall be activated and crystallized until the adept is born. Within the adept is the potential for dismantling the veil to a greater or lesser extent, that all may be seen again as one. The other self is primary catalyst in this particular path to the piercing of the veil, if you would call it that. Questioner: what was the mechanism of the very first veiling process? I don't know if you can answer that. Would you try to answer that? I am Ra. The mechanism of the veiling between the conscious and unconscious portions of the mind was a declaration that the mind was complex. This, in turn, caused the body and the spirit to become complex. Questioner: would you give me an example of a complex activity of the body that we have now, and how it was not complex prior to the veil? I am Ra. Prior to the great experiment, a mind-body-spirit was capable of controlling the pressure of blood in the vein, the beating of the organ you call the heart, the intensity of the sensation known to you as pain, and all the functions now understood to be involuntary or unconscious. Questioner: when the veiling process originally took place, then it seems that the Logos must have had a list of those functions that would become unconscious and those that would remain consciously controlled. I'm assuming that if this occurred, there was a good reason for these divisions. Am I in any way correct on this? I am Ra. No. Questioner: would you correct me, please? I am Ra. There were many experiments whereby various of the functions or distortions of the body complex were veiled and others not. A large number of these experiments resulted in non-viable body complexes, or those only marginally viable. For instance, it is not a survival-oriented mechanism for the nerve receptors to blank out, unconsciously, any distortions towards pain. Questioner: now, before the veil, the mind could blank out pain. I assume then that the function of the pain at that time was to signal the body to assume a different configuration so that the source of the pain would leave, but then the pain could be eliminated mentally. Is that correct? And was there another function for pain prior to the veiling? I am Ra. Your assumption is correct. The function of pain at that time was as the warning of the fire alarm to those not smelling the smoke. Questioner: then let's say that an entity at that time burned its hand due to carelessness. It would immediately remove its hand from the burning object, and then, in order to not feel the pain anymore, would mentally cut the pain off until healing had taken place. Is this correct? I am Ra. This is correct. Questioner: we would look at this in our present illusion as the elimination of a certain amount of catalyst that would produce an acceleration in our evolution. Is this correct? I am Ra. The attitude towards pain varies from mind-body-spirit complex to mind-body-spirit complex. Your verbalization of attitude towards the distortion known as pain is one productive of helpful distortions as regards the process of evolution. Questioner: what I was trying to indicate was that the plan of the Logos in veiling the conscious from the unconscious in such a way that the pain could not so easily be controlled would have created a system of catalyst that was not previously usable. Is this generally correct? I am Ra. Yes. Questioner: now, in some cases, it seems that this use of catalyst is almost in a runaway condition for some entities, in that they are experiencing much more pain than they can make good use of, as far as catalytic nature would be concerned. Could you comment on our present condition in the illusion with respect to that particular subject? I am Ra. This shall be the last query of this working of a full length. You may see in some cases an entity which, either by pre-incarnative choice or by constant reprogramming while in incarnation, has developed an asurient program of catalyst. Such an entity is quite desirous of using the catalyst and has determined, to its own satisfaction, that what you may call the large board needs to be applied to the forehead in order to obtain the attention of the self. In these cases, it may indeed seem a great waste of the catalyst of pain, and a distortion towards feeling the tragedy of so much pain may be experienced by the other self. However, it is well to hope that the other self is grasping that which it has gone to some trouble to offer itself, that is, the catalyst which it desires to use for the purpose of evolution. May we ask if there are any brief queries at this time? Editor's note: the word asurient in the previous passage can be defined as hungry, or greedy. Questioner. I noticed you started the session with, I communicate now. You usually use, we communicate now. Is there any significance or difference with respect to that? And then, is there anything that we can do to make the instrument more comfortable or to improve the contact? I am Ra. We am Ra. You may see the grammatical difficulties of your linguistic structure in dealing with the social memory complex. There is no distinction between the first person singular and plural in your language when pertaining to Ra. We offer the following, not to infringe upon your free will, but because this instrument has specifically requested information as to its maintenance, and the support group does so at this querying. We may suggest that the instrument has two areas of potential distortion, both of which may be aided in the bodily sense by the ingestion of those things which seem to the instrument to be desirable. We do not suggest any hard and fast rulings of diet, although we may suggest the virtue of the liquids. The instrument has an increasing ability to sense that which will aid its bodily complex. It is being aided by affirmations and also by the light, which is the food of the density of resting. We may ask the support group to monitor the instrument, as always, so that in the case of the desire for the more complex proteins, that which is the least distorted might be offered to the bodily complex which is, indeed, at this time potentially capable of greatly increased distortion. I am Ra. We thank you, my friends, for your continued conscientiousness in the fulfilling of your manifestation of desire to serve others. You are conscientious. The appurtenances are quite well aligned. I am Ra. I leave you, my friends, in the love and in the light of the one infinite Creator. Go forth, therefore, rejoicing merrily in the power and in the peace of the one infinite Creator. Adonai.
Can I say something? Can y'all hear me?
Go right ahead, woman.
Oh, okay, good. All right, I have my earpiece in, so I don't know how good it is. But anyways, I just have to say how incredibly awesome it is that they're all like looking out for each other. That, I mean, like Ra's looking out for them. They're, looking out. Like, it's so cool.
And
Anyways,
it's like,
that's it.
you bring that up though, because I mean, it should just be second nature. And it really shows just how disconnected we really have been, or, whatever. So it's like, so here our group, we're like, oh, this is so awesome. And it's amazing. But man, it's kind of crazy to me that it's not so common. But let's make that change. We're doing it with our little bringing it together. I had to write down the little quote thing they said earlier. Where the hell was it? We'll go see, because I scribble like crazy. So I'm trying to keep up with this too at the same time. When they're talking about those of like minds who seek together are far more likely to find. But I'm like, hell yeah, look at us. We're fucking awesome. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I cuss a lot too. I apologize for anyone who don't like that, but
I love it.
it's an expression. I'm expressing my feelings now. More pairs of eyes. Yep.
I'm a former sailor. I can't even help it.
Army. And I was around a lot of guys that had the biggest potty mouths ever, and I loved every second of it, though. They were awesome. Okay, let me take that back. I was a line medic, guys, and I was attached to an infantry platoon. It's the only reason why I was surrounded by guys, all right? There's two types of females in the military, and they always say the whore or the bitch. I was the bitch, all right? I wasn't the whore. I don't agree with that statement fully, but kind of. So not the statement about me, but never mind. I'm going to shut up. I digress.
You were the bitch when you needed to be.
Yeah, no, I was always a bitch, but I'm not really being a bitch. But if you, I was very by the book, black and white, and I did everything as it was supposed to be. So, people don't like when people are by the book. They're like, damn, she's a bitch. I'd rather be that than a whore.
So you were perfectly okay. And then those that were unreasonable saw you as unreasonable.
Yeah. And I'm like, sucks be you. And happily continue to be the awesome me. So did anybody have anything in there that they want to talk about? This is weird. Andre's not here. I like horrors. Benny said, oh, Benny. All right, let me see if I missed anything else in here.
I'd like to bring out something just because it was at the beginning about where they talk about dreams we used to teach from teach learners within the inner planes as well as those of outer origin of higher density, right?
Mm-hmm.
This summer, we did a little workshop on astral projection and body, out of body traveling, this and that. And one of the exercise which I loved was to put 3 alarms prior to the time you would wake up at half-hour increments. So if you wanted to wake up at 8, you would put the alarm at 7:30, 7 and 6:30 prior to your wake state. So when the alarm would ring, you would try straight away to see if you had a dream and try to remember the dream. Now, I like to record because that way I just say it. I don't need to come out of my sleep completely, and then I can just go back and fall asleep. And oh my God, this statement is exactly because even I restarted doing it as of this week. And this is what I said in one of my recordings. I was in a mystery school perfecting psychic abilities. In this state right now, I have no psychic abilities. Like, I know we all do. I know that we can all perfect it. But I was at mystery school during my dream time. And at other instances, I went and I was covering the ranges of ability a human being has. At other times, I was contacting different dream realities and being aware of every beautiful state of being. And then I traveled realities. I was in the cosmos and I was in different level. I was learning different levels of telepathy. I mean, come on. What about this veil? We want it to be lifted because now I want to live in my dream state.
Susanna, have you read The Voices of Venus, Susanna?
I know Trevor has, and I went halfway through, and now I need to find a time where I can be in the quiet and really soak it in. We did, me and Israel played it once, and we went through it, but I mean, my focused attention is kind of hard, so I need to do it.
Well, there's just one bit in it. There's just one bit in it that really applies. I think it's like about halfway through, like, and it's basically just that. It's that they have whole classrooms of people who astral project to Venus to learn in classrooms, like exactly how you described.
The mystery
Seriously,
school.
that's kind of mind blowing.
That is mind blowing.
While they're asleep, yeah. Just while they're asleep, that's what most of us are probably doing in this group here, because we're all systemically involved in this energy. We're all intimately connected with the energy of Venus, or the energy of love, you might say. So you bet your freaking top dollar on that while you're asleep, at least some nights of the week, you're going all the way over to Venus and going, hey, how's it going? Oh, I was just down on Earth and I saw you. Yeah, let's sit down and learn more about love and practice all this awesome good stuff. Immediately after that part in the Voice of Venus, they turn around and they go, just to clarify, we do other things on Venus too. Venus isn't just for healing, but that's definitely what it seems like. That's the majority of what they do on the planet there is take people from other places, heal them, recuperate them, teach them, do all sorts of things with them like that, and then send them back for the next day. It's fantastic. And we were having massive conversations about this yesterday. Yeah, this is sort of stuff that I do as well. So I can say, you're amazing. Thank you for corroborating my experiences as well. And I really appreciate that.
Can you tell us about your experience? I share mine.
Okay, give me a minute. I'll pull up. Actually, I mentioned one to Desiree and I'll bring it up. I was going to speak it in public. It's a very entertaining one. It'll take me a second to find it.
If anyone had anything else while he's looking that up, feel free to speak on up. Okay, but honestly, on chronic pain, being on it for about almost 24 hours straight, but it doesn't do something. It does do something to you. I don't know how to explain it, but finish. I'll be back. I'm confused. Did I misread something? Never mind, sir. Okay.
So basically, the veiling is specifically a time-space phenomenon, or the veiling is a space-time phenomenon, like what they said, that means that during time-space, there is no veil, correct?
I always get these darn ones. So after, no, but in the here now, yes, we have it. Is that I always get
no.
Space. What do you mean?
So when, like what Susanna was saying about being in a dream state,
you mean he was
considered there. That's considered time space, correct?
Come on, my genius says, yep, according to Trevor. So you're saying if they remember when they're there?
I think depending upon the individual, it can be a penetration of the veil, or it cannot be. If you're going into dreaming unconsciously and just, dreaming about being on a cruise ship with no deeper meaning, whatever, no, you probably haven't penetrated. But if you put that work into seeking and you're finding yourself receiving messages from your higher self, from inner planes, whatever aligns with your personal belief system, then yeah, you've made some degree of penetration and have managed to leak over into time-space side of things. At least that's my understanding.
So are you thinking like lucid dreaming and astral projecting on purpose type of thing? Is that what you're referring to? Because that's like when you're knowingly trying, But I also think Susanna was also pointing out, though, like, we go there, like a lot of, it's like going to school, but none of us, it's not like we went to bed intentionally trying to, right? As well, you were talking about as well, right, Susanna?
Yeah, that was not even my intention. All I know is because I really liked this exercise this summer, I decided I want to try it again because I feel there's more to learn, there's more to discover, and I really want to push further. I really want, that's my wanting.
So that I can be right there with you. I love it. When she gets her eyes on something,
yeah.
I'm telling you, I love it.
But that's kind of my whole point, though. Even though there may not be a conscious intent to pierce the veil, right? But by having a desire to study these subjects, you're seeking. Yeah. So that already kind of breaks down that boundary to where the universe can say, yeah, she's searching for this. We're going to go ahead and give it to her. As opposed to me, if I'm saying, well, I'm just going to sit around and play video games and enjoy my meals and whatever, that's not seeking. There's nothing that's going to be passed on to me because it'd be a violation of my free will, right?
Interesting.
I think when it comes to the whole, astral projection and trying to kind of seek in the dream kind of state, it's kind of important to understand how that whole kind of paradigm works, like the whole sleep thing and, the differences between the whole sleep. And I think that's really ties in a lot with what the veiling is, because Ra even said it about the veilings between like the conscious and the subconscious. So, we can't see all the other densities, we can't see all the other things, but the main reason, the thing that cuts us off is like the super conscious, because I don't really like the word subconscious. It makes it seem smaller, doesn't it? But like, the super conscious, subconscious mind, is the thing we're veiled from, really. And that's what he's talking about, kind of like, with the it gives the actual kind of value to all the different parts of it. Communication and like the green ray a connection during sex and everything. Those things kind of they only take meaning if you've got the veiling in place, because otherwise it's everybody knows everything all, I suppose. Anyway, I digress. The kind of subconscious thing, and back to dreaming. Okay, so really you've got three different states in which you dream. Yeah. Now most normal people dream most of the time, where the subconscious mind builds the dream state. It builds this big dream world, and then the conscious mind, what you the way you think, the normal superego jumps into that. Yeah, and it then deals with what the subconscious mind builds for it. This can give you lots of imagery. What Ra says about how it used to be used as a way to communicate. So you connect to your teach learner in that space before the veil, as it were. But now, instead of connecting to the teach learner, you step into the dream world created by the subconscious, right? So That's a normal dream state. Now, if you wanted to do lucid dreaming, you step into that dream world that's built by the subconscious, but the conscious mind realizes that you're inside that dream world and takes control over it to then essentially manifest and control that dream world environment. Yeah. Then lucid dreaming essentially is where the conscious mind never steps into the dream world created by the subconscious mind. Then both of these things merge together in the astral form that can then leave the body while it sits there lovely, doing all the best sleep you'll ever have in your life, healing, loads of cool shit goes on, while your actual consciousness is out there somewhere in wonderful places. Now, if you kind of understand that, yeah, it kind of gives you the process of how to do it, because all you've got to do is essentially keep your conscious mind awake while the body falls asleep. And that's really the trick. Like, I found this great way of doing it, where you just keep your hand up like that, yeah, while you're trying to fall asleep. Yeah, right. And just fall asleep, let your body completely fall asleep, but concentrate on keeping your hand up, right? If it starts to fall over, wake yourself up a bit. Yeah, and just keep your hand like, if it starts to fall, wake yourself up, and just literally concentrate on that until your whole body falls asleep. At some point, you'll realize that your body's asleep. Yeah. And then it doesn't matter. You can just peel yourself out. It's quite incredible. But the point is, realizing those different places is really powerful as a tool. And I'm going to shut up. Sorry. Have fun.
You know, Ed, I'm going to be trying that tonight and every other night until I get something.
Well, other tricks that I've learned. You generally do it better if you fall asleep laying on your back rather than laying on your side. I find it much harder to get out laying on your side. Also, take off any metal jewelry. I don't know why it works, but like someone said this to me, and as soon as I did it, take off all of your metal jewelry. And once again, it's like you come out easier. Also, setting intention before you go into it. Yeah, I don't really remember my dreams. If I just go to sleep, I don't have any clue what I dream about. No idea. Absolutely no idea. But if I go to sleep setting clear intention with my higher self, with what I want out of the dream, then that's generally what I get out of the dream. So, where I basically taught myself to astral project in like 3 or 4 days from just using that same thing, just meditating before I go to bed, and just communicating with the higher self what I wanted to do. Yeah. And like, you wouldn't believe some of the crazy stuff I've done. Like, I literally have had like conversations with dead relatives that are more real than any conversation I ever had with them when they were alive. I won't even go into it, but like the fact is, it's an incredibly powerful tool. And as soon as you can kind of realize, oh yeah, the other thing that's quite important is understanding the energy bodies thing. The understanding that you're made of all of these different energy bodies. You're not this thing here. This is just the vehicle that they all kind of like jump in on to communicate. Remember, you're a complex, right? All of these different things. Yeah. Like, as soon as you realize that they're all separate things. Yeah. And, you can take one of them out and all the rest of them keep on going. The body keeps going. The etheric body's still there. It's still doing its thing. It's just the astral part, just the little ball of conscious awareness that you shoot out. Don't think of it any other way than that. And then the other thing I found really weird is when you start off and you do actually start doing it, remember that you're not actually like a whole person. You're a light body. So it's really easy. If you try to turn around, the first few times I did it, I tried to turn around like that, but instead of turning around, it's like I inverted into my own face and like start going into myself. It's so weird because like it's more think about rotating the ball, rather than like turning your head. Really weird sensations. That and the jittering perception thing, like looking at something and seeing it from like this angle, like do, like okay, I can see what it is now. So weird. Anyway, I'm gonna stop talking. Love you guys. Anyone else got any cool experiences about it?
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. And then Trevor's going to share. So how do you say it? Because I always say wrong. Is Sadhguru or whatever? This guy.
I love that guy.
Okay, yeah. So he told a story because how his wife's no longer here. And when you mentioned jewelry, Like that's literally to keep them in their body. So when she took out her nose ring, that's when she left and then ended up passing. And like she knew and like she knew she was going. I mean, it wasn't in a bad way, but she was like miserable. She kept getting up, and he told the story like he was annoyed that because it was during like their prayer or meditation or something that she was getting up and going place. She took off all her bangles and everything, and then she must have realized to take out her nose ring. And I don't know what it was. I think he said copper or something at the time, or I don't remember. And then when they came back, she was just had a smile on her face, like in that meditative state, and she had traveled on to wherever she was going. But yeah, that's it. All right, Trevor, you're up, bud.
I got a story to share, and it involves something that might be a little bit challenging to some people. So if you're having an issue with this, please interrupt me halfway through and say so that way I can take that into account. But I'll just start from the start and I'll tell you about it as we finish. So this is something that happened back in the beginning of 2018 when I was just getting into a serious relationship with my ex-fiancée, the mother of my daughter, who passed away in mid-2020. And we were doing, oh no, it started, yeah, okay. It started out as a pregnancy test for my cosmic companion, this lucid dream that I was having, right? It was such a lucid dream, and I recognized it as such. We were walking into the curtained area of a hospital ward, like any other. Ari laid down, but was uneasy. She had a small fear of these things, or so I had thought, and she did in real life. She has a small fear of these things. Do you mind if I lay down next to my partner while you examine her? I said to the nurse. Sure, she said with a smile. I stood up from my chair and I laid down on the bed beside Ari, and I whispered into her ear that everything would be okay. This is when I felt an insertion in me. I felt the nurse starting to probe me with a scanner that I thought was for my partner. Hang on a second, I started to contest, and that's when I had realized what was actually happening. The veil of the dream dropped away, and I was laying on my side naked. I was being held down, not physically. No one was restraining me, nor were there any straps. I was the one to be tested. And I realized what with. 2 rods, both flexible, off-white or bone white, with many sensors up one side of them. One was for my anus, the other was for my mouth. The nurse had already started the rectal one. She said to me, "It's okay. I know you don't think you want this, but that's what you always say. Just lay back and relax, and it'll all be over soon. This first one is always the hardest one because I have to match the sensors from the top to the bottom." Top? I inquired. As I did, the second probe started to be forced down my throat. Somehow, both the probes met in the middle of me, and there was a moment or a flash of connection as the 2 sensors on the tips of these things made contact in the very middle of me, one coming from below, one coming from above. At that point, I ripped the one out of my throat and then heard the nurse complain extensively as I was floating back into darkness away from there. I had broken free of whatever was happening. After the first connection of writing this now, it comes to me that there was 1 for each of my 7 chakras, 7 in total. The heart was the hardest one, requiring positive and negative from above and below to complete their circuit. I awoke to our 2018 reality and with complete physical memory of what had transpired. My body was telling me that I had just been raped. My anus felt stretched, and it was as if something had been inserted into it. Ari Carla helped me as soon as we woke with a timeline regression using NLP. The energy commands, it included a burning of the original contract and a quest as to find out what had happened. After calling my higher self to the front of the entourage of past lives, my galactic family, and all other beings to assist, I rose above my life, up and up and up, higher and higher until I could see my timeline stretch out behind me. A focus point was added to every part that had something to do with the issue at hand. I went searching for the very first point, the very first dot, the original agreement for whatever this thing was that I was looking into. She helped me to find it, Ari. I descended into it and looked at what was happening. It was a contract for tracking during a very unstable time in a very distant past that had never been completed or cleared. When I opened my eyes, I was looking at myself that far back in the past. And what I saw was me, but it was not human. I was actually a praying mantis. This was myself that I constructed the agreement with initially. I talked to myself and then realized that I was the mantis, that I was no longer human. The physical sensations will never leave me. They really won't. Like it was like a full exoskeleton feeling, really full on. My two cells had merged for this exercise. Ask yourself if the contract has a use, if it is still in use, if it is okay for it to be removed. I heard Ari Kala's voice float into my conscious field. My mantis self accepted me and the activities we were doing. He said to me telepathically, yes, it was something that I had constructed and I needed it for a few lives. The only problem was that I lost track of it before I had completed my goal. That was fulfilled eons and eons and eons ago, ages long gone by. Sadly, I wasn't able to track it down to absolve and finish the contract as I had moved into another life and I had no idea from that point onwards. So the issue had continued. Yes, you are more than welcome to complete, finish, and tear up this contract. Now, what had happened to this praying mantis was that he'd made a deal with the other side and he had an intention for a certain amount of time, but they'd actually terminated him before he finished his intention. So he never got to actually go back and tear up the contract. And then when he was born again, the veil had wiped his memory of the contract, and then the contract was still in place and was all the way up until where I am right now. Picture a piece of paper burning in front of you. Ari is the voice again, elegantly brushing my fields. All right, the paper contract caught fire in front of my eyes, floating in thin air. At the same time as my mantis self, I drew some circular diagrams in the ether in front of me. Using my bladed arms, this activated a connection with the beings from the other half of the contract. They were not happy, but they could do nothing about it. At this point, the circles turned into squares and then were cut apart. The energetic threads that bound myself to this contract using my mantis blades. Surgically, I had performed some amazing work that I never knew even existed or that I could possibly do. Floating back to my current self, I was very disappointed to return to my human body. The mantis beings have such an amazing body, their muscles, their shape, the way they move. I was in love with those feelings again. So I opened my eyes and then went into some positive meditation and further NLP around future construction of all of our lives, implanting the completion of my goals into the timeline further down the road and regaining all the events between now and then to support that goal in becoming imminently accomplished. When I opened my eyes, I felt a sense of lightness and freedom that literally brought me to tears. Never underestimate the power of your mind. You construct your own reality and you do have full control. And when I found that, I was like, holy fuck, I completely forgot about that. And I've done this immediately after I'd had a healing with a lady, and we were having a chat after the healing, and she said to me, you've probably been abducted somewhere in the ballpark of like 50 times, in dreams and things like this. But whether we're talking about abduction or classrooms or healing pods, the Arcturians, they're a very amazing entity race out there who are doing a lot of fantastic work. When I'm talking about Arcturians and praying mantis, we're actually talking about a 12 scale instead of a 7 scale like we have here, or a 13 scale or an octave. So it's just adding a couple more in between. So in this type of scale, the in between what we would say in Ra 3rd and 4th is actually 5D. So how everybody's talking about 5D reality? That's because they're talking about the 12 scale. instead of the.
Someone, I've been asking about this. I just can't grasp it. And you were the first person to like, okay, thank you. Sorry. Go ahead.
Two different models of thinking about the universe, but when you look at them and you look at the actual meaning of it instead of what the words are saying, I'm right, you're wrong, I'm right, no, they all mean the same thing. It's just more detail or less detail and that type of thing. I forget what I was going to just tie that off with, but yeah, it was. What's NLP? Oh, NLP is neuro-linguistic programming. It was a modality that my partner had been well trained in. She was a master NLP practitioner, and it's basically a process in which you interact with your unconscious mind to tweak or play with parts of your reality. There's a lot of bad reputation around it because the two guys that made it went on to do some pretty dodgy things with it and ended up in jail because they were manipulating and causing problems with people. The FBI, the CIA, basically all media outlets know of and use NLP in advertising, news, current affair programs, and all the rest of this. This is very well-known information out there. It's basically neurological linguistic programming, hypnosis using words. So we're still awake and they think that they're alert, but you can play with things and have lots of fun. If you've got somebody who is service to others using this, beautiful. If you've got somebody who's service to self, well, it doesn't matter what they're using, they're looking out for themselves. So yeah, it's sorry, the Arcturians are more 8th dimension, so that would be probably somewhere in the 6th dimension, 5.5 to 6.5, somewhere around there in the RAS system. But these entities have what are referred to as healing pods, and they constantly take people from our experience while we're sleeping and pop them in these healing pods overnight, and then we'll bring it back for the morning. So whether we're talking about classrooms, whether we're talking about healing pods or alien abductions, all of these things are happening on the other side of the veil. And this had happened after I'd been healed and given the, well, actually during the healing process, I had an implant removed from me. And that gave me the ability to then remember what was going on in these other locations. My ability to pierce the veil had increased. And so then the next night that I had this lucid dream, or a couple of nights after, I was like, oh crap, it worked. You know, I had this amazing dream and I had all this memory of it. It was like a full bridge of connection between the sides of the veil. So it's really amazing stuff. And I do a lot of work in this sort of stuff too. I do, and I practice helping people establish neurological frameworks to be able to exchange information across the veil easier without the use of drugs, tricky techniques, or all this other sort of stuff. There's amazing, amazing resources for lucid dreaming and other such things out there. I'll post a link to one of my favorite in the group. And yeah, it's just fantastic stuff. But like everything, you've got nothing to fear, except if you're in fear. So whatever you do in every area of your life, before you go to work in the morning, before you even wipe your butt after you have a poo, make sure you're in a state of love when you do so. Okay.
Thank you, Trevor. Amazing. Thank you for sharing.
First of all, beautifully written. And that's like, to me, that even just signified even more just how real it was and just how you express it. But like, I felt you throughout all of it. And it's like incredibly brave and to share that with people anyways, but I appreciate that you did. And I love you.
I just have to add one more thing. When I got back into my body, I'd always remembered the praying mantis bit. So I think I might have mentioned it to Desiree before, but what had caused the praying mantis bit, I had completely forgotten about, and that was the abduction part. But what I remember and what I will never forget from that is waking up in my body on bed in this reality going, oh my God, I can't move. Like, I don't know how to use my muscles. My whole arms were tensed and locked up. It was like I had praying mantis arms like this. It took me about a half hour for my muscles to unclench and unclasp because my neurological priming was that thinking that I had an exoskeleton instead of a soft muscle body. It was bizarre stuff.
Did you have any depression after that?
No, I had much depression before it. Basically, I've been depressed from 8 until 25-ish, 20 to 30, somewhere around there. Yeah, that's where I really started to get into myself.
Like be knowing and then coming back in, and after that experience and coming back, if it caused any depression. A bunch of my books, so that happened to a lot of people, like where it caused depression. So I was curious.
No, because I took the, I think because I had the facilities, the practice, the skills, and the people support networks around me to turn it into a positive experience, I used it as an empowering one. And I used it to reinforce my confidence in where I was going and what I was doing, rather than going, oh, I got probed. Shit, I better not tell anyone because that's embarrassing.
No, something that had to happen in the way that it did, because the amount of work that you do and help that you do for a lot of people, like this was just, that's part of what, it's just part of your story that got you there to be able to do all this amazing shit that you do. So yeah. Did anybody have anything else like from that from the reading that they, I feel like it was very straightforward and
okay, I've got a couple of things. So it kind of ties in with what you were saying about the whole kind of karmic contracts thing and kind of clearing those. Has anyone seen that book that I put up on the group earlier called Agatha? Has anyone seen that? Has anyone read it or anything? I only found it the other day, and I started reading it, and it's like a mini Law of One. It's really, really good. But there's a bit in that where he talks about kind of clearing the karmic contracts and like loads of stuff in here. Like it's actually mind blowing how much the crossover between that book and Law of One there is. Like it's fully mind blowing. Because like the whole way through it, they call Earth the Earth School. Like that's literally that's how it's referred to. It's like, you know, we've all come to the Earth School for this incarnation to learn whatever. And then Ra in that session, he was talking about how, you know, that essentially like Earth is the school, and then, you know, when you die, yeah, that's the test, and it comes down to kind of like, you know, this whole kind of ancient Egyptian thing of weighing your heart against a feather, you know, but you are your own judge, you know, observation of self by self, I think he called it. And then kind of the biases and how you view yourself from self is how you then kind of polarize, I suppose. Anyway, there's loads more in that book. I'd highly recommend reading it. Because yeah, like yeah, there's loads in it that connects up to it. What's the other thing I was going to say? Someone else want to jump in? How's everyone? Everyone all right? Yeah, good. I missed all your voices.
Okay.
Stuff.
I was just going to go use the restroom, but really, y'all are like silent. First of all, though, I do have to say, I don't think it's weird. It doesn't feel weird to me, like how, you know, some meetings, like you have this, or not you, I'm speaking in general. I might as well just sit back on cam because I'm not going to pee right now. When something's off, like I feel it. I feel it in everybody when they're talking. I just know, but here it's like a calm. I have this weird, in a good way, calm for this meeting today. Like, I feel like it's flowing. I understand though, for you, it's like, all right, guys, come on, save me. Cause I feel like I'm out here standing in front of everyone naked and you're just staring at me. But it's not that it's, at least for me, I don't know if anybody else is feeling off or something, but I have an extreme calm today in here.
I wish I had extreme calm, because this week I've kind of been all over the place, in and out of one phase of emotions or another, which seem to be totally disjointed.
I agree. I've had that same thing. I'm just saying right now in this meeting, I feel calm. But I think there's so much going on right now around, like so much. And I think all of us are going through like this with everything.
Yeah, and I don't have a bucket of mud to stand in.
You are losing your mind, Becca. No, I'm
Trevor, it was
Thank you
really
for
cool.
confirming.
It was really cool to hear about you finding that you had been in Mantis. I'd had a session with somebody who can read the timelines, and when we were talking, she said she went back into one of hers and discovered that in one past life she had actually been a crystal in one of the pyramids of Egypt. And I'm like, I want to call her and go, tell me more.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
I want to be thankful to Susanna though for the meditation, because I think that was helpful in being calming for us too. That was the uniting of the group, the higher selves coming together, the light. And it literally, I thought I was holding hands with somebody on, I felt this ring of energy, holding hands. It was amazing. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
I've got to second that. Not that all of your meditations aren't amazing, but that one hit a different chord, and I just amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll just have to bring up and talk about in the session the obviousness, like especially with the talking about the calm, having a chaotic life or whatever is going on, if you call it chaotic or busy or whatever, and then coming into a group like this and then going, oh, this is nice and calm. That is the effect of our social memory complex. Congratulations, everyone. You're living for one.
Now, if you just come to work with me, I won't have this problem next week.
But yeah, it's just that whole, like when two people come together and we've got, how many people call? 16 at the moment. We've usually got somewhere in the ballpark of 15 to 20. So if two people can be so good, the law of squares on 20 people, I'm pretty sure we're talking in the ballparks somewhere between 50 and 100,000, if I remember, because it's not exactly squaring it according to our square in mathematics. There's something else that happens with it. But yeah, from the estimation that they were talking, I got a rough idea at a certain point, and then it just goes basically everybody. But yeah, this is really amazing stuff. And I'm, after yesterday and the things that I was looking into with these healings that I'd completely forgotten about, like after all this had happened, I'd gone through that huge traumatic experience. And so then I've gone and completely shut myself down in all these different ways. And so reconnecting with all this yesterday was basically reconnecting that energy from there over that point that was disconnected to where we are now. So I'm feeling completely grounded and rooted and positive about where we are and what we're doing here, about where we're going from here and how it's going to happen from that. Like there is amazing shit going on around the place. Excuse my Australian, but it's just, this is the time, as it always is. It's no other.
Right before Becca shares, Becca, because I see you, honey, you're going to go, but I wanted to say something. You guys don't understand. All right. So when I've been going through this session by session, like we are doing right now, we're at 83 since the first session. Now here's the thing. Amanda and Susanna have been with me from the beginning of going through this whole cycle. They met me on my first CE5 that I did with someone on our group, another page that I admin. And instantly I was like, I know that I'm doing like them too. There's something there. And then there's another friend of mine, Liz, and I'm like, her too. Like, it's so weird. And then you all of you. Oh, Israel showed up last year for us and joined us, our little trio that we had going on and stuff. And then you guys all showed up pretty much at the same time. Like it was like, boom, 10 of you, or however many, like the first big part of it. And then for like 2 weeks after that, I remember you all came. That was when everyone first came. Yeah, CE5 contact of the fifth kind. Talk about that after. And then Robert he's talking to me. He's like, I feel like tonight's going to be we're going to get another person. And then that's when Mitch showed up that night, and like Trevor, everyone else was already here. And then Becca's here, and that, it's like, and we all click, and we all like, it's just, I'm like, okay, yeah, there is definitely something going on. Me and Susanna have had this, and Amanda had this conversation. I'm like, I'm telling you, this is the time now. And it's like, I don't know if we're all part of this, what it is, but I truly believe that, and it's coming in this onesies and twosies now that are adding into it, but they're not leaving, they're staying. And I feel like now we all are just coming back together like we're supposed to for something bigger coming that we're supposed to do and whatever. So like, I agree with everything you just said, Trevor, at the end of that about that. And I'm like, I have to share this because we've been talking about it so much. Now I'll shut up so Becca can actually share, and I'm gonna let Andre in because he just popped up.
Okay, hold on. Well, okay, got it all set. Too many buttons to push. Anyways, no, piggybacking off of all of that, the cards I pulled this morning they hit me really hard emotionally, and I wasn't quite sure why, because I don't think I was fully, like, I felt like I understood the message, but now I really understand the message. So anyways, I pulled the Two of Cups, the Ten of Swords, and the Tower. And I believe this right here is representing that Two of Cups, and the Ten of Swords is very much this very painful journey that has come to completion, because he, does that sign. This is a metaphorical death. And the Tower, we're going to shake some shit up.
But the awesome thing about it, though, is like we're shaking this shit up for greatness. It's not like shake up and everything.
And together.
Yeah, in a good way. Yeah.
I know that 100%. I agree. I'm excited. I mean, we're already doing it and we don't even realize it. We really are. So.
Oh, and on top of it, one last thing. Two of my friends are in here. Gretchen and Amanda. Yeah, I'm singling you out. To me, this is like so amazing. This is why the Two of Cups was also, because I feel like an evangelist bringing my friends in. So ironic. Oh, and funny.
You're all welcome.
Oh, the good news is, if you refer 4 more people, you'll get a brand new iPhone. Obviously,
it's coming, but you get it when you get it. I'm not buying an iPhone.
It only comes with a European charger.
That reminds me when I lived in Germany. An awkward silence. I'm just going to sit here and love you guys.
Desiree, read the question that Amanda just wrote.
Has anyone?
I think it's very interesting.
Hello, Andre, man. Hello. Hey, dude.
Has anyone let him say he loves him?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
We can.
Oh, great. Okay, cool. Yeah, I was just going to say that there's adapters if you have a European thing.
Of course, Andre, but now you can't go. It's all right. I lived in Germany. And of course, if I bought anything there, it was coming with a European one. How many places do you walk around? Oh, you're not in the United States, you're in Canada. But United States people, there's you're not going to your local corner store and finding a charger or a converter for that. But okay, but Amanda said, has anyone felt as if they have switched frequencies or evolved, or upgraded in the last 24, 48 hours? Girl, that's happened to me. Started happening in September of last year. I was at time loops and crazy shit. But this last 24, 48 hours, for me personally, I've gone through so much emotional thing. This last month and a half has been very emotional, and not all in a bad way at all. None of it's in a bad way, actually. But I seen and Mitch can attest to this too, and my girls that talk to me every day because he's been listening to me bitch and whine. But I come to full circle and I see the whole, I'm like, holy shit, and it makes sense. And so I feel like right now everything is doing that last bit of, for me anyway, whereas I'm realizing all these things now and then I feel like that's the ending of me being in this one part where I don't know. And I'm about to venture right into something just amazing. Yeah. So there's mine. If anybody else wants to share theirs. And great question, Amanda. Thank you for sharing.
I would like to say something. I'm going into my 4th week of unemployment, which feels great, by the way. and I'm having a lot of free time to explore things, and talking with Becca some time ago, and she inspired me to reinvestigate something I started like 30 years ago with astrology. And I've been focused on that for just like hours and hours every day. It's been amazing. And that question about changing frequency within the past like 2 days or so, I woke up 2 mornings ago, a dream was so vivid and powerful, and it was actually frightening in its just the sheer beauty and the amazingness of it. And it was a star. I was looking at a star, and it was a deep red color with like orange highlights. And it actually had a crown on it, and it had the word "the king" above it. And this star was communicating with me, and it was just so amazing. I woke up. It was scary. It was so powerful. And it's shameful that I had fear, though. I wish that weren't the case. And it is now also my anti-birthday. So I'm exactly 6 months away from my birthday. So I'm experiencing the opposite side of that circle of life right now, which is my opposite nature, trying to draw in these things like my shadow self and whatnot. So just to me, this is an amazing time right now, and I'm really enjoying it. It's a lot of fun picking up on this work that's 30 years old, which is a Saturn return. It's just amazing right now.
Can I just say, dude, are you sure that's not goetic?
Hey, wait, what?
Are you sure that wasn't something goetic? Like, you know, didn't mess about with some grimoires back in the day, and you know, someone with a big, you know, shining crown, probably a legion of demons behind him, is coming to collect a debt.
No, it was a star. Because right now I'm focusing on. I'm seeking to understand in greater depth the field of energy we travel through on planet Earth right now, and the influences of the outside as we perceive the outside, which is really part of us. And I'm seeking to understand that better. And I felt like this star was talking to me. I was paid and in the past, frequently the stars were given another title you're more familiar with, which is angels. The angels were often given star homes, or the stars were called these angelic names. So it could have been a very powerful demon. It was like a red dwarf star, which is smaller than our sun, but it was awesome and beautiful and frightening and calming. It was just amazing. I didn't feel fear in it trying to get me to do something or to be something. It was just the fear of the sheer awesomeness of it, the presence. Similar to how the ancients used to say, if you ever are in the presence of an angel, you will be afraid, even if it's a good angel, because the sheer power they have is just, your mortal frame can't handle that stuff.
I have to say, when I did all the kind of meditations there, the Elias Levi ones about connecting to your angels, and when they turned up, it was quite what's the word? Like discombobulating. It's really weird. It's like it throws you off balance. It's really, really odd sensation. It's more like I kind of felt vibration rather than saw. It was it's an incredible thing. I couldn't really look at their faces. It's like I couldn't, no matter what you tried to do, that bit's too bright. It's really odd. Anyway, I once woke up. I once woke up in from one of my astral projection things, and I was trying to just use my astral body to look at different kind of densities myself while I was asleep. It was really weird. But one of them, there was my angel, like one of the three angels that I met with the Elias Levi thing, was literally like right there next to me, like while I was asleep. Yeah, and I swear I was like, so I did my whole, like, it really probably made me jump. That's how close it was. And then I did the whole kind of my little energy barrier thing and like pushed it away. And I was like, oh my God, I just threw my angel across the room accidentally. Oh God, I'm sorry, little guy. So it was like, it's like, it looks more like a cherub. It's like, it looks like a child, but he's like just beautiful, brilliant light. Anyway, yeah, just crept up on me, little guy. I felt really sorry for him.
No, he knew you were going to do that and got out of the way.
Well, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, they didn't look like it hurt. I think it was more just like, okay.
Hey, Robert, I've got something for you.
Hey, what's that?
So they just discovered. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I can't tell if you guys can hear me or not. So
we hear you. Oh, Israel. Okay, yeah, you sound different.
I'm on my headset. I'm on my phone. So
all right.
But Robert. So one of the things that happens with me is like things come to me in time and space when they're supposed to be there in the instant. Des can attest to some of this as well. So when you were talking about your experience, and I have to tell you, they just found we are a binary star system. Did you know that? They have to rewrite the books. NASA had information about it. There's a few other, you can look it up right now if you want. Essentially, and it's a brown dwarf star with its own celestial bodies and everything. But we're in, and it rests out at the depths of Pluto, I guess. So it's still part of our solar system, but it's a dark star, can't be seen. So you need to probably look that up. Sounds like
I believe it.
He's having a conversation.
No, there's like 3 out of 4 stars in the observable galaxy are of that kind.
Yeah, it's not in our galaxy, it's in our solar system.
Right, yeah,
the
it's
Earth,
a common type of star.
Yeah, no, it is very common, but I guess it's there was a theory put up a few times in some of the old texts. I forget who studied it. He's real famous. You'd know him if you saw his picture. I don't know his name though. But he put it up as a probable explanation, found some more stuff, put up more evidence, then found some stuff NASA did, threw it all together, and then it turned out they're all like, oh, he's right. So even NASA's like, yeah, this is a true steal. So yeah, it's in the solar system. It's a whole nother star, I'm fascinated by it. I just found out a little bit about it. So if you're getting back into astronomy, it'd probably be behoove you, because it's going to be the latest new thing. So
yeah, I'm gonna say that whole thing was like about quite a while ago, with the whole kind of Nibiru and the whole kind of Sumerian texts, and was it the Colburn Bible and all of these things that spoke about there being another sun in our solar system.
Right, and the guy, I forget how he had a decent amount of money by the time he was looking into it and investigating, so he was just able to make sure he bought all the stuff, or make sure he could get his credible evidence. And so he found old texts that actually had like mathematics in it, trying to see this so-called wobble in our star from the gravity of this other star. But anyways,
I think they located the kind of gravity well of it quite a while ago. I think it's supposed to go in basically like a 2,000-year circular orbit around our sun, something like that.
I think it's 2,400 years or something. And
something like that. Yeah. I can't remember. It's like a big old loop that it goes around, and it just kind of affects a slight wobble on our solar system. Right, but can I just say, it's really weird that Robert said something about the angels, or say demons, could all have their own sun as their own little home. Yeah. So if you've got a sun that, explodes and then goes on to create planets and becomes a logos, essentially, like our sun, then that would be like a service to other sun, right? Whereas one that, like, went brown dwarf and collapsed in on itself and just wanted to keep all of the matter for itself to get denser and denser and denser and denser. Do you reckon that would be like a service to self sun?
I like that theory.
But didn't Ross speak about what sounded like he was talking about the black hole as drawing in everything to a more concentrated form of higher spirituality? That's what it seemed like.
He talks about it like...
I do recall a quote somewhere along the lines where Don asks him if a black hole is a fully evolved logos, like after the sun completes its cycle, does that mean that a black hole is like an evolved logos? And he goes, yes. So black holes are an amazing thing that is being studied right now, and it messes with people's minds because, like, say, take the sun, for instance. In order to work out the mathematics of the sun, they actually use black hole mathematics, and then they just pretend that it's not a black hole. And it's like, what? How did it, what? Like, you're trying to measure something that's going like this, apparently, and you're talking about a sun that's going poop, 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 like this. Like, they're two completely different realities. How are you using that mathematics for that? And they're like, oh, no, we know what we're doing. That's how it's done. So, okay, so the sun's a black hole. No, don't be crazy. That's stupid. It's like, what? But, huh? But all things are the same in the other. So this other brown star or brown dwarf sun, however you want to call it, is likely to be that alternative because you've got black white hole making the gray hole, which is your horizontal plane of the spiral arm galaxy. That's the black hole towards the middle, right? But then the white hole actually comes out vertically from that and rains down around the outside and comes back into the middle. And this is what we call the torus pattern, the double torus field. So it goes up, out the top, out the bottom, and both of these come back around again to the outsides and then back into the middle like this. And that's exactly the same structure as an atom, an electron, a proton, a human, an animal, a tree. Anything that you look at in its energetic field is a double torus like that, and it shoots it primarily out the top and out the bottom, and also receives in these places. But then it also sends its own energy back out into itself through the sides back to the center and then up and out again like this. And this is a continuous self-sustained system that we call the fundamental structure of a fractal reality that we find ourselves in. And then when we talk about the differences between these things, whether it's a planet or a piece of toast, or I like throwing in the example in case you didn't realize every now and then, a piece of poo, right? Doesn't matter what we're talking about. All of these different things are illusions because we're looking at the torus and our senses are going, don't pay attention to all of that. Just pay attention to this tiny bit here, this tiny bit here, and this tiny bit here. And then we go, oh, wow, I can see a person. But that's the illusion. I'm not what you see here. I am so much more than that, and so are all of you at the same time. So science is finally coming around to these ideas, and yes, that means other big boys like NASA are starting to go, all right, there's some secrets that we've been hiding, like, oh, shock, there's other life out there. Oh my God, how we didn't predict that. Oh wait, no, we did. It was just a whole bunch of idiots running around the place going, no, don't be silly, listen to us, we're the experts. But everyone else was going, I don't know what you're talking about. So it's great that they're finally catching up like that too.
Yeah, that's true. Robert?
Yes, thank you.
One thing, when you do this, if you want to go ahead and, well, you might want, people are probably going to want to respond. But after that, we have about 15 minutes. So just to let everybody know, put it out there. So if you got anything after he's done, get it out there so we can close out. Go ahead, Robert.
Okay. I would like to reconcile with what Ed was saying about how the black hole is like a service to self entity. Yes. Like the chakras of a service to self human are more concentrating. It's drawing in and trying to hold it. And the service to other is more radiating, spreading out. And so a black hole, it sounds like what you're saying is true. Like it's a service to self entity, but it's reaching that level where we learn that the higher selves at the sixth density switch to service to others. They can't stay isolated forever from creator. So the black hole can't be isolated forever. It's got to collapse into the oneness, the singularity that is its heart. So yes, it's like a service to self, but it's collapsing into a pure otherness.
Yeah, I like that.
Totally unrelated to the subject at hand. I don't want to cut anybody off. Anybody has anything to add to the current thought? Everybody good? Trevor, earlier you were talking about connecting the energies between this side of the veil and the other after an experience. And one of the big things that I always kind of intuitively got that I feel a lot of people don't quite get the reasoning for is there's something called integration work when it comes to psychedelic experiences. And with the growth of the psychedelic movement, it's gotten lost on a lot of people. And I always kind of felt that it was an essential, but I didn't understand why. I never really put that thought into it. When you started talking about connecting the energies and really bringing that together, it all kind of clicked. Because in my mind, you are connecting to something on the other side if your intent prior to, and I know not everybody is okay with drugs, and I fully respect that. And I'm not trying to proselytize or push anybody. But I feel that if your intent is where it needs to be prior to taking a psychedelic drug, plant medicine, whatever resonates with you, you're going to make that connection. And I think if you don't have the desire to connect those energies afterwards and really focus on taking what was offered you, you miss out on so much of the experience. And just you sharing what you shared and making that final connection just kind of put all those gears together for me, and it clicked. So just wanted to share that. Thank you.
There's so much happening in this meeting tonight. There's so much. It's beautiful. I can't even.
Thank you. Thank you. No, it's those types of moments when, my experience can help somebody achieve a new level of recognition or self internally. That's hugely rewarding for me. I appreciate that.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for your service on that.
Shit, I keep muting myself. If nobody has anything else, Robert, if you're ready.
Okay, just before we go, got one thing, right? So I was thinking about this earlier. Yeah, I think we should come up with a plan for how we should progress with our little social memory complex. We're all kind of like, right. There's something Ross said earlier. Yeah, he was like, right. So when he was talking about the rule of square and the kind of the doubling and stuff. Yeah, it was like you all have to get together and you have to do something. Yeah, you have to get your green ray energy to connect. Yeah, and that helps you to crystallize the higher chakras, right? So I think that's what we should be kind of trying to do, right? We should be trying to kind of connect in some green ray way to try to kind of activate a higher resonance connection, crystallizing our higher chakras in a, memory complex social us awesomeness kind of way.
I totally get and agree with what you're saying. And I think that we are starting that already. I think like what we're doing right now is, especially with the meditation stuff, is building that cohesion with all of us so that we all can come together in this green ray heart, everything, right? And then think about it, like we're on 83, it's almost over. We're going to have to do, what do we want to do next? We're going to have something else to do. So I think we are very much on, you have a point, and we're getting there. So if you have ideas.
I'm loving how it's all happening organically. We're not really needing to guide it, and I'm not saying that we need to go all like silly and like, oh, we all have to do this at this time and it'll get all weird. But it's more just that, like, I don't know, there's so much potential here. Why not? Let's kind of let's have a little kind of plan. The whole point of kind of that whole rule of Dublin or whatever it is the fact that everyone has the same intention, that we all go into it with the same visualized outcome that we want together. So we need to kind of like, I don't know, just come up with what we want our little social memory complex to be, I suppose. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I think you just
on the postcard, yeah?
Put it right out there.
You all, love and light, everyone.
Yeah.
Oh, so just on that topic, I wanted to mention the LL archive says that the essential aspect for forming a social memory complex is worshiping God together. So like praise God or something along those lines, and then we are all kind of then God becomes the oversoul for our collective. And then, we recognize the God in each of us, and then kind of that's kind of how it goes. But the heart is, of course, also an important aspect. And I'm not trying to negate what anyone else says, but just that essential aspect of praising God together. And that's what forms that oversoul. And then it grows together as we recognize the divine within each of us. And that divine is unifying us.
Yeah. And I think, I agree. I don't think that you're just taking anything away from it. I don't think we have to be like praising, I think when people hear praise God, they're thinking like going to church on Sunday and they're all there, no, I think that's exactly what we're doing here though. When we want to learn, we're doing this, we're feeding that this, of course, the creator's the divinity within ourselves. And we are, I'm like, if I could talk with emotions, it'd be a lot smoother, but yeah, we're getting somewhere in here.
Worshiping creator, but we also did something like complimented Trevor for what he was saying. I mean, that was creator speaking to us through Trevor. Yeah. So we're not asking to worship Trevor, but the creator, I know, right? Creator through Trevor. And that was amazing. The story the story you told us was great. And the way Mitch was saying, it's helping him greater self-realization. It's amazing how that all comes together. And we, creator, we're all here. This is all creator expressing itself in all these beautiful entities.
Absolutely.
Somehow we need to be able to worship without identifying with these outward things.
I perfectly said. Exactly. But we all, like you said it, you did say it perfectly, but I'm just being a smart ass, obviously. And I agree with everything said. I felt that. Absolutely.
I wouldn't say I said it perfectly at all. My words.
You did.
I write much better than I speak. I think. That's what my dog says anyway.
I think you did a great job.
Thank you, Becca.
See yourself as those who pull the wagon, pulling together, love each other and allow. Yeah. But okay. So Andre just shared the, I don't know which.
This is a different quote, but it's saying how each group has its own unique balance, and the basis of information is dependent on it. So I mean, we have our own unique way, and because I mean, we are coming together to read the law of one, which is about the one infinite creator through Ra, and so in that way, as long as we're recognizing the one infinite creator within us and allowing that to unify us, then I think we're doing the work of that social memory complex. Forgiving, loving each other. That is the essential work, and we are doing it. So
yeah, that's the cool thing about it. Yeah, we're coming together about law of one, but we are just like how Robert put it out there with seeing the creator through Trevor and his experience and everything else. Like we are when we're listening to each other and we're being there and loving each other and giving that support, we are absolutely doing that to the creator. So I'm like, we're fucking awesome. That's all I gotta say. It is 9:57. If nobody else has anything else, and Robert, and you're ready, which I felt like what you just said would have been good. All right, lovely. Have a good day. You know, that was good. But if you want to close us out, that'd be great. Oh no, Susanna though has to close the group space. Well,
Yeah,
we all
that was after.
We have to, close Sacred Soul Space. Yes. So now we'll bring back again the hands to the heart center. Now we're going to go the other way. So bring the hands below and close the circle. Bring it up. Stay here for a moment and bring it down. This was the personal Sacred Soul Space. We will now close the group Sacred Soul Space. And we are empowered forward in the love and light. Love you all.
love you. And you know what? You were right, Robert. She was after. My bad.
That's quite all right. I did say it well enough, like you said. Thank you, Creator. Love you guys. Thanks for being here again.
Love you too.
Leave you in the love and in the light of the one infinite creator. Go forth, therefore, rejoicing in the power and in the peace of the one infinite creator.
And so it is.
I have to say,
Thank you. Love you guys.
thank you.
Yes.
I hope all you new people come back.
Yes, I hope. Please do.
Love to have you,
See
family.
you next week.
All right, bye guys.
Beautiful week.
Bye,
Have a
guys.
beautiful week.
Oh, well, never mind. I'll say it in the group. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you for coming, Amanda. All right, I was just responding. We're gonna sit here with me. No. All right, love you guys. I'm actually gonna post all the videos up soon too. Like I said, my screen's been broken, so it's been crazy. But I bought a new computer. It doesn't want to work right now, but tomorrow when I go bring it back and get another new computer, then everything will be up tomorrow. All right, shut up, Desiree. Goodbye.